Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to Growth Horizon or coming back. I'm Bird, and lately I've been talking about the planets going retrograde, and we're almost done. So we've already went over Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and now today we're going to go over Neptune. I'm sorry. So with Neptune is basically the planet of dreams, illusions, intuitions, fantasy. Like a lot of dreamy stuff is usually related to Neptune, which Neptune does rule Pisces. And so you can probably see a little correlation there. But, first we'll usually talk about the planet being retrograde in your birth chart. So, you can like Google what's my birth chart or um, birth chart calculator. And then, you'll get a lot of different websites. You can type in your birth information. And yes, you will need your birth time just so you can get your correct rising sign. And then you'll be able to see if you were born, with Neptune in retrograde and what house and what sign. So, excuse me. But we're going to go ahead and get into Neptune, the planet of illusions. And escapism. That's another thing about Neptune is Neptune loves to escape, but that's kind of with fantasy. But anyway, with Neptune, if you are born with Neptune retrograde in your birth chart, for one, a retrograde planet means that it looks like it's moving backwards, even though technically the planet does not stop and go backwards. It just appears that way for us here on Earth. And we also will feel the energies of that planet a bit differently. So, yeah. Neptune retrograde will basically have you feel those energies inwardly. And so, if you're born with it in retrograde, you may desire to expose, religious shams, or you may want to discover mysteries, which, you'll basically probably be one of those types of people who are always trying to figure out something. Like somebody be like, oh, I just don't know how it happened. It just happened. You're going to be the type of person who's like, I can't even sleep. I really need to know what happened. And you'll also really like fantasies. So that could be one form of how you are always escaping the everyday life is going into some kind of fantasy land, or you may want to live out a fantasy, or you may want to act out a fantasy. Oh, and you can also be very suspicious of pretty much everything and everyone, including yourself, to the point where it's just like you don't even trust yourself because you're being so suspicious. You'll like anything that happens, you could be questioning it because you want to know like what's the real reason of this, or that doesn't sound right. Something like that, to the point where you're questioning your own self. Um oh yeah, and you can also doubt yourself a lot because you're so suspicious of everything, including you. And another thing with being born with Neptune retrograde is that what was it? Oh yeah, you can basically become a victim of your own illusions. Like you could have an illusion of a person, and so you expect for this person to be a certain type of way when this person is not like that at all. And so they're actually a different type of way. So that's kind of how you'll be a victim of it, because you won't be accepting that person as they actually are. Even though they may show it to you, you can be thinking like, oh no, it's just an off day, or oh, maybe this person is just not feeling good. We ate some bad food. Basically, trying to give any kind of excuse for the illusion that you have in your head. And sometimes you might not even realize that you're doing it, or you might not even realize that this person is really being not a good person to you or to themselves, or however, because you'll be so stuck kind of like in that little fantasy world of yours, to where the illusion of this person is way greater than any of those red flags that you've seen. Not even just talking about like a romantic relationship. It can be about friendships. It can be about family members. It can be about classmates, associates, whatever. But you'll just have this illusion of that person, to where it's like you have this veil on, or you put a veil on them, whichever way it makes the most sense. But also you would like to escape. And another way that you would like to escape could be through substance abuse. But try to not. I don't know what's the best way to put it, but just try to, regulate, any kind of substance you may use, just so that you won't get to the point of abusing it, because it could be easier for you to abuse it just because you are born with Neptune retrograde and you want to escape that much more from the reality. And like, let's say, if fantasy land is not working anymore, you're trying to get something to help you to get out of the real world. And so you want to go to a different type of fantasy land. So that's the Neptune retrograde in your birth chart. And Neptune retrograde, like as collective for everyone, the way it'll affect will basically be the veil that you have on everyone. It can be gone. We'll have to face life the way that it is. Because Neptune will be retrograde, and so some of the things that Neptune has been covering, the way it'll affect everyone is that some stuff you can't help but to see it. And also during a Neptune retrograde, pay more attention to your dreams, to your intuition, anything like that. And also spiritually, you can be growing a lot more during a Neptune retrograde, because Neptune is very spiritual. But yeah, definitely pay attention to your intuition, because Neptune also will let you know, hey, this right here doesn't look right. You might need to slow down, or you might need to speed up. And you just really do want to pay attention to that. And also during the Neptune retrograde, do not get lost in the fantasy world. Do not get lost in the substances. Don't get lost in none of that. I mean, yeah, we do like to go there, but with Neptune retrograde, we may want to live there. And that's not necessarily the thing that we should be doing, because there's a lot of things that we might need to be paying attention to. And if we're always in fantasy world or escape land, we won't see it. And also during the the retrograde, well, we are going to have a retrograde this year. Neptune retrogrades, I think, once a year. The Neptune retrograde will be June 30th to December 6th. So we're going to have that time space of Neptune retrograde. I almost said Jupiter, which we didn't like. Jupiter was several videos ago. But with the Neptune retrograde, just make sure you're paying attention to your intuition. That's, if nothing else, just take that away from it, from the video. Pay attention to your intuition. And for the Astro Data Bank, there were 25% of the charts in 2020, as of 2020, that had Neptune retrograde in them. So about a fourth of the charts had a Neptune retrograde, because we see that Neptune stays retrograde for months. And so, yeah, so just make sure that you get prepared for this Neptune retrograde that is coming up. We're about to have, we already have Pluto in retrograde. Venus is going to be going retrograde soon. Now we're about to have Neptune go retrograde. So just make sure that you are getting prepared for the retrogrades in Neptune. And thank you for watching. Have a good day.